afternoon, everybody. Now listen, before Danae gets in here, I just wanted to come here and steal a little bit of the spotlight. I mean, after all, it's where I do my very best work. Okay, she'll be here in a minute. My name is Miss Peach, and I know you guys got to get tired of hearing about this Enneagram, and self-improvement and self-love and development and yada yada. What is an Enneagram? It sounds like a candygram, but not nearly as much fun. Come on, y'all. Well, my name is Miss Peach, as I did say, and I am a Southern belle like no other Southern belle. I wanted to sneak in here and say, well, okay, here she's come. She's coming. Just a second. Okay, just a second. Let me invite everyone to the Christmas tree lighting in downtown Atlanta. They have invited me to be the star of the show, or maybe they asked me not to attend. I don't know. But anyway, I love getting lit up, and I love lighting up a room, and fine. Okay, fine. Here's Danae. Y'all have a good time, if you can. Oh, my goodness. My apologies for letting my alter ego start off this show. Okay, so what was that all about? Yes, I have an alter ego. A lot of us do, but I don't bring her out all that often. I used to bring her out a lot. And y'all, I have a friend who has a podcast, and she starts her show off by saying, I'm sharing things that my mother wishes I wouldn't say on the internet. Well, I'm kind of like that, only I think these are things my children wish I wouldn't say, because they might conjure up some really traumatic times in their life. So what is this all about? Yes. I have a friend I call Miss Peach, and she is a tawdry body Southern belle. She has a very quick wit, a very strong Southern accent. See, I love to turn it on. But many years ago, back during my not so aware days, I used to just love to pretend I was this other character. And yeah, I refer to her in the third person, and I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But anyway, she wore a black lace dress, a black feather boa. Sometimes she had a red wig. Sometimes she had a black cowboy hat, pair of sparkly tennis shoes that were bedazzled with rhinestones. But what made this possible for me to even do was the sunglasses. I had this big pair of sunglasses that I had like bedazzled or whatever. I had covered in rhinestones. And so they were just the gaudiest things you ever saw. But when I put those sunglasses on and you could not look into my eyes, I could literally transform into this other character. Now, I call her Miss Peach. I think my kids call her their worst nightmare. But, and when my husband first met her, he's just always so controlled and seemed so calm and mature, I don't think he knew what to do with her. And he was kind of afraid of her, and he kind of liked her. And we'd go places, and he'd say, is Miss Peach coming with us? So, anyway, she was very entertaining. And in fact, I had the privilege, yes, of entertaining at my grandfather's 80th birthday. So they had this party at the church building in South Texas, where they had gone for years and years. So everybody knew him. Everybody knew me. They had known me since I was born. And in fact, it was the town I was born in. So yeah, I had just been a regular around there, even though I didn't live there, but I visited quite regularly. So anyway, they had this party, and I came out in this whole garb, and not a soul knew who I was, including my grandparents. They didn't know because I just transformed into this other person. And there was the preacher at the time. He had a mustache. And one of my best lines, I think, at the party was when I looked at him and said, "Now, preacher, I don't typically go for a man with facial hair, but in your case, I think I might go through that brush to get to that picnic." You see, and of course, everyone was like, "Oh," couldn't believe that this person was pointing or making that joke to the preacher. So when all was said and done with this little shtick that I did, I went into the restroom, changed into my regular clothes, and I came out just like nothing had ever happened. And everyone was going, "Who was that? Where is she? Where did she go?" And oh my goodness, the rush of knowing no one knew it was me was fantastic. And so she kind of just showed up in places. Actually, she showed up in places that I look back now and think, oh my gosh, my poor, poor children. My daughter used to go on these clogging trips with her team, and we were in Branson, Missouri one time, and we were staying in these cabins, and we were between shows or whatever. Maybe it was evening and everything was done. And here came Miss Peach in her full regalia. And I just walked right into their cabin and turned it on. And of course, the mothers were just cracking up. And the more they laughed, the more I turned it on, and the girls were laughing. And I looked at my daughter and I thought, uh-oh, this is not fun for her. I think mortified is the word. But anyway, I decided it was time to give her a rest. So I actually ended up apologizing, but it was much later because I was like, well, everybody was having a good time. And so here we are talking about our alter egos, the disguises we put on, and what we do when we feel like we're not exposed, or what we do because we think we have a role to play. And that's more what I want to talk about, is these roles we play that are really not our authentic selves. We really do learn as we go up in the levels that who I am is not all, it doesn't always have to be attached to a role I think I have to play. And this is an extreme example, I know, but I thought it was a fun one to start out. And so what I really want to talk about is, hey, let me go back and talk about that. When I said I refer to her in the third person, I do. But the truth is, I'm not a writer, so I was like, is it second person or third person? I couldn't really remember my high school English. So I went and looked it up. Of course, it's third person. And I looked at the description, and it said, some people find that speaking in third person improves their self-esteem, their ability to perform well under stress, to manage their emotions favorably, and to think through complex situations in a more rational and calm manner. Well, it wasn't rational at all. But it also says, though it's possible that speaking in third person may be a sign of a personality disorder, unless there are significant symptoms, it's not usually considered a telltale sign of one. But it was a personality disorder because I disassociated from my normal order of behavior. And I hid behind a disguise to expose a different side of myself. It was not my true self. And so it was fun to act that out, but my days of running off with the circus had passed. So anyway, I knew that I had this potential in me. So instead of saying I'm going to be a professional performer somewhere, I just let it all come out through this character. No, we haven't seen her in a long time, but you never know. So here's the point. I'm being a little over the top, I know, using this character. But what I really wanted to talk about is how the Enneagram helps us uncover the why of our need to put on a different role, to act a different way. So there's a difference in how we feel we need to portray ourselves and who we are at our healthiest level, where we transcend our ego identity. So taking on a role so completely that we lose contact with who we are inside. And so I wrote some notes because I want to be sure I say each one of these correctly. I was in a wonderful weekend workshop where we talked about the levels of health within each of our numbers. So I was just going to go through each number and just kind of give you a feel for the difference between the role that we play when we are attached to our identity, and what it is to just be who we are. So it's the doing versus the being. And okay, so let me just go through these. So an Enneagram 1 truly wants a perfect world, believing there's almost always a right way to do everything, and they can work tirelessly to improve themselves and others so they can take on the role of, and I'm going to say this with each number, I am. So I'll make an I am statement. So an Enneagram 1 might say, I am the right one. But as they begin to drop that role, they can let go of their forced goodness, their forced order and attachment to the self-image that says, I am loved if I do what's right. You see, I do. I am the right one. I do what's right. And so in letting go of that role, they can rest in knowing that the universe will unfold as it should and that they are a part of the perfect reality that includes life's imperfections. So on to Enneagram 2. If you know the type 2, you know that they've often been called the helper. But in seeing their role, they might attach to this role of, I am the loving one. In other words, they believe they don't have the needs because they're the ones who take care of everyone else in order to be loved. And so to be loved, they think they must do love. And so again, when we drop the role, they know that goodness will appear even without their involvement, and they are loved unconditionally. Enneagram 3s take on the role of I am the achieving one. So again, they become attached to this false identity that they fear that they will only be loved if they are successful or they are the best. So when they let go of that role that needs approval from others to feel that they are loved, then they can know their true value is in being authentically themselves. They don't have to prove they are loving beings through their success. They just know, no matter what, they are loved just for being themselves. Enneagram 4, they can take on the role of I am the unique one. So they become attached to the role of their uniqueness through telling their story that makes them different. So at this level, they believe they are loved for their creativity or their uniqueness. But as they detach from the role, they can let go of forced uniqueness and attachment to their self-image. And they let go of the belief that they're missing something that others have. And they know they are loved by simply being who they are. So I think you're getting the flow. I am doing versus being. Or I am the one. I am this person. I have a role to fill. And this is what we would call ego attachment. So moving on, Enneagram 5 can take the role of I am the intelligent one. And they feel like they must have particular knowledge or have mastered something, usually something in particular, to feel that they are loved. They are the one who has the knowledge of this. But when they let go of that role, of the belief that they are loved for their knowledge, then they can know they are understood and loved for simply being in the world. Enneagram 6. And this is always a little tricky one to me because of the phobic and counterphobic. So please excuse me if I try to, shrink this down into a couple of sentences, because I know there are a couple of different angles to this. But in general, sixes take on the role of being the loyal and dependable one. So at this level, they feel they are loved if people know they can depend on them to do what is expected of them. But they're often seeking outside support to validate their actions. And so at this level of freedom, when they lean into letting go of this role, they can let go of the belief that they must be the one that people can rely on, and that they know they are secure in themselves. They don't have to look to outside sources for their security, and they know that they are loved and supported. Again, I know that sixes have a lot of complexity around this description. So just in general, it's still the role of being the one. I am the loyal and dependable one, instead of just relaxing and being loyal and being beautiful in their loyalty. Okay, Enneagram 7, they can take on the role of I am the joyful or I am the enthusiastic one. And so at this level, they feel I am loved if I am joyful, or I am loved when I'm positive and cheerful. And so when they drop that role of making sure that they're always positive, or they're always having fun, or they're the ones who have to make sure everybody else is having fun, then they can relax into true joy and freedom in knowing that they're loved, even when those times come that they're not so enthusiastic, and break out of the role that they hide behind at times. Enneagram 8s can take on the role of I am the strong one. At this level of thinking, they believe I am loved if I am strong and in control, or I'm loved because I'm the only one who is strong enough to do something about this. And so when they drop that identity, the role of being the strong one, then they know that strength is often found in surrendering the need to control, and they are loved for their compassionate strength. And Enneagram 9, they can take on the role of I am the peaceful one. And so at this level, they take on the role of the peacemaker and believe that they are loved if everyone around them is getting along. And often in an attempt to maintain peace at all cost, they often acquiesce to others by remaining almost camouflaged in the background so as not to inconvenience anyone with their needs. But when they drop the role that it's up to them to make peace happen, then they can fully engage with the world and be loved for being authentically peaceful. So there's a difference between identifying with a role and letting go the need to feel like I have to continually be in this role. I have to perform. I have to do. And some places I've read say, you see this, and if I do this, then I'm a good person. But I think ultimately, the reason we do any of these performance-based identity, image things is because we want to be loved. And so if we don't move past those unhealthy levels and come to an awareness that it's really not up to me for you to find your joy, or you to find your peace, or for you to feel like you have valid thoughts that might be right or might be more acceptable than mine, any of the different roles that we have come to attach to. When we let those go, then we can relax into our being. And so I am not at all saying don't do those things. Of course not. It's our gift to be able to, if you're a 7, to be positive and maybe see the bright side. If you are a 9, it's your gift to see all sides of a situation and try to find peace. And with all of the numbers, oh my goodness, if you're a 3, you are a driver, and you are the ones that can get things accomplished when maybe there's some of us who are lagging behind a little doubtful of what our place is in here. And we look to you for that leadership. We look to 8s for leadership and strength, but we don't need you to always be the one and feel that you are not loved if you are not that one. Sometimes 9s get very unpeaceful. I know this because I live with one. Usually when Ohio State is fumbling, which they would never do. But no, football is a funny thing with 9s. And I'm not going to go down that road again. I think I talked about it previously. But yes, even a 7, as I am, has times where I can't reframe a situation. I can't make this, well, if this hadn't happened, then we wouldn't be in this good place. Sometimes it's just not, and I can't reframe it, and it's not my job to do that. And actually, when I let go of the role and the typical performance-based character that I can be or could have been, I feel like I've moved past that a lot. But then I can let others be at peace and not fear that I'm going to come in and just, oh my gosh, try to move them right past their situation when that's not my job. It's actually the opposite of my job. I have denied somebody their process in whatever it is. So I can be joy, but I don't have to do joy. I can have enthusiasm, but I don't have to be enthusiastic 24/7. And my husband can tell you that I'm not. So I hope you got a kick out of this and got a little taste of another side of what I can be by getting to meet Miss Peach. She's fabulous. But thank you for indulging me with that and listening. And I hope you truly get to know the joy of who you are by loving your number. Talk to you soon.